Those of you with long memories might recall the tale of a Green Beret who attempted to lead a half-baked coup of Venezuela's government back in 2020. Well, as we learn more about this guy, we realize this is one of the most insane stories I've ever seen. Buckle up. We're going to be talking about Operation Gideon. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, Operation Gideon. This is the name that this guy, Jonathan Gordeau, established for his operation in 2020, which was an unsuccessful attempt by the active coalition of the Venezuelan International Reserve, Venezuelan dissidents, a private security firm called Silver Corp, to infiltrate Venezuela by sea, remove Nicolas Maduro from power. The plan went down from 3 to 4 May 2020 and was for expatriate Venezuelan former military personnel living in Colombia to enter the country by boat, take control of an airfield, capture Maduro and other high-level figures, and expel them from the country. Now, trying to capture a military dictatorship with, let's see, approximately 300 people, but ended up being 60 that actually arrived, is insane. Truly insane. Now, who came up with this half-baked, idiotic scheme? Why, the person who did it was actually a man named Jonathan Gordeau, right? And it's hard to even describe what his plan was because it makes so little sense. Now, obviously, Maduro is a dictator, military dictator, and Maduro, of course, enjoys the support of the higher ranks of the military, but is less popular among middle and lower ranks where, well, obviously they're a lot poorer and they're a lot more exposed to the Venezuelan reality, economic reality. But remember, if you're a dictator of a failing country, your military in some ways can actually become more loyal as the country gets worse because you can offer them a sense of stability that simply cannot be matched by any other private institution, right? Regular meals, military bases that can oftentimes be the only truly safe places in a failing country. Again, just like if you were to, let's say I was just to tell you, your family will move to Iraq at the height of the war. You have no choice. They must relocate. And you could choose anywhere to live. You would choose the United States Embassy, right? The safest place in Baghdad, inside of a massive military complex. Well, so this idea that the military was going to just flip on him was kind of insane, right? Now, the plan, also involved this guy, Gordeau, who had served in the Canadian Armed Forces, then served in the U.S. Armed Forces, then became a naturalized citizen, retired at the age of 40, and founded Silver Corp USA, with the initial idea being to embed counter-terror agents in schools disguised as teachers. You may remember that Silver Corp sounds a lot like the Boogaloo-themed Gold Corp, a meme inside the kind of Boogaloo Gooner military vet bro culture from the same era. So again, a little bit of a shout out to the vet bro world, but the actual execution was just really kind of a joke. Still, this guy spent literally March until June, or really May of 2020 to prepping for this thing. And it really, I mean, here, let's see if I can figure out what exactly happened. So here's the landing steps. Boats with 60 people launched from a peninsula in northern Colombia in 2 waves, beginning with a pilot boat carrying 11 men, followed by a larger boat carrying 47 men, right? Including 2 former Special Forces members employed as private military contractors for Silver Corp. They traveled about 400 miles through the ocean, passing through Aruba and Curacao, planning to meet with other insurgents stationed on the island that possessed weapons caches and fighting vehicles. The 2 boats eventually lost contact with one another, right? So right there, if you've ever been in the military, you know there's such thing as a PACE plan, which is a primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency ways of communicating. The fact that their entire PACE plan still lost contact with each other is kind of insane. Now, the Maduro administration got wind of this because, well, OPSEC wasn't all that great. and they just simply had their police forces just wait at the beach to get them. According to the Venezuelan government version, a firefight ensued when the occupants of the first boat shot at Venezuelan authorities who were waiting for them to reach shore at their landing point. An opposition lawmaker and journalist said Venezuelan authorities had advanced knowledge of the landing, that they staged the firefight at odds with the government's account, and that the firefight started after the Venezuelans shot first. The first boat was sunk by Venezuelan security forces, and the second boat, right in the afternoon of May 3rd, hours after the first boat's arrival, but before the Guaido released a video to Twitter appearing. Occupants of the second boat were reportedly headed for an area near Caracas where they would set up camp under the supervision of some other people in preparation for an invasion force that they hoped would just attract disaffected Venezuelan soldiers. Guys, hoping that people are into your thing isn't a strategy. I don't know what else to tell you, right? Especially when, again, the Venezuelan military is the only source of stability, right? The plan, I mean, it was for men to like move around safe houses, but how are you going, if you're moving from secret location to secret location, how are you going to draw disaffected Venezuelan soldiers? Right? The second boat reportedly received words from the operations leadership that the mission had already been a failure. Right? The boat itself nearly sunk due to excessive weight. Uniforms of soldiers and even gear was thrown overboard to make sure the boat could make it to shore. Guaido told the Washington Post they last spoke to the crew on 4 May and that he engaged in efforts to secure a vessel out of Aruba to extract them. Most of the men on the second boat were dropped off along the shoreline to attempt escape from Venezuelan authorities, but some remained on board. Just absolute joke. You can see also here's the gear they were found with. And what I want to point out is that you can see some fake Venezuelan uniforms, a pair of old night vision devices, a whole bunch of credit cards and photo identification, including some armed forces cards, what look like maybe even some CAT cards, a bunch of Motorola radios, easily intercepted, easily jammed, a freaking Kindle, U.S. flag patches, not okay, a challenge coin, and 4 ID tags. This is, guys, fun fact. If you are conducting a clandestine operation for the CIA, they don't give you American flag patches. Especially, they don't give you American flag patches. Well, maybe this is because of the photo. These don't even, I don't think these are oriented correctly. These are not oriented correctly. It's not you. These are not oriented correctly by U.S. military standards. This is weird, right? Now, the actual guy, right? Now, he actually got arrested, Jonathan Guaido, for planning this because a bunch of people got killed and he violated U.S. export law because, believe it or not, it's illegal to send weapons overseas to Venezuela. Shock. Even if you say it's totally for a good cause. So, now he ended up dating a filmmaker who posted his bail and then made a documentary. The filmmaker named Jen Gatien posted her $2 million Manhattan apartment where he was living as bond for Guaido, who, again, facing trial for arms smuggling, but she also simultaneously made a documentary trying to argue essentially that the CIA put him up to it. This is all completely insane. The plan is stupid. One. Two, two of his guys that joined him on this scheme are rotting in prison. He doesn't give a shit. He's just doing appearances. He also violated terms of his probation or parole because, again, when you're out on parole pending charges, you're not allowed to possess a rifle. But an Oklahoma couple was storing some of Guaido's belongings, including 2 assault rifles. An associate recently tried to retrieve in possible violation of a court order against possessing firearms while on bond, right? The couple said in their sworn statement that Guaido asked them to sign statements that accused Gatien of misconduct. When we declined, he called us Judas, they said. Now, in addition, but then, even more insanely, he fled. This guy fled. He skipped bail. He left his girlfriend high and dry, who literally made a documentary about what a great guy he is and how the CIA screwed him or whatever. And it's just insane, right? A probation officer reported the ankle monitor Gordeau was required to wear was still in the Tampa area where he'd been living and participating in equine therapy under the supervision of the VA. His attorney admitted to the court, "I'm at a loss. I've not spoken to him as to why he's not here." Truly, truly insane. But here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Nothing in what this guy describes has the hallmarks of a CIA operation. Why? Because you can tell from the funding levels, right? It's very simple. There's a tier of projects. Like, projects are funded in different ways, and you can tell who's funded what kind of project by the amount of money spent. A wealthy individual, right, might deploy up to $20 million on a project, right? Generally. That would be like a research study or a think tank, right? Generally, a company can deploy 20 to, maybe up to $1 billion on a project, right? But when governments basically don't do these kind of projects for less than like $20 to $50 million, okay? So for context, right, the Bay of Pigs invasion, right? This was an effort to do something similar, invade Cuba and overthrow it with dissidents. You can see that the dissident forces, Brigade 2506, included literally 1,500 people. So for those of you keeping score at home, that is what's that, 40 times what this Gordeau came in with. And by the way, that was not long ago, right? That was 60 years ago. So, like, the idea that a 60-man force was going to, again, like, somehow communicate to all of these Venezuelan disaffected military folks that they could totally overthrow Maduro right now if they just went to an unspecified location. It doesn't make any sense. You also see the wearing of American flags, the wearing of dog tags. The only theory that I have at this point is that he was actually contracted by the Venezuelan opposition to try to force the U.S. to actually intervene because they would be so obviously and transparently a U.S. operation, like a false flag. It's called tail wagging the dog, where it would be like, if a small U.S. ally like Palau or something, or Trinidad and Tobago or something, a small country, was to go to war with their neighbor, but would do so in a way that ensured that U.S. forces would be killed in the court by the adversary, forcing the United States to say, okay, well, we have to defend our service members in this conflict, and so we're going to now become involved, right? Getting baited into joining a fight. And that's the only theory that makes even remote sense, because nothing else in this is anything other than an absolute slapdash, half-baked, fully idiot scheme, right? Again, they point out that Venezuelan state television showed the captured weapons, Peruvian documents, uniforms literally wearing the American flag. Gordeau and Nieto Quintero, a retired Venezuelan military captain, published a video the same day claiming responsibility for the attack. Gordeau stated that two of the captured men are U.S. citizens, Arian Berry and Luke Denman, ex-Green Berets, were captured on their by a fisherman. And of course, Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido said, dude, this wasn't us. But you notice that he really hasn't been that active since then. Truly insane. Venezuela, it's so bad that the Venezuelan Attorney General requested the extradition of Gordeau from the United States. But obviously the U.S. is refusing, but they still charge the guy. So the only part that's weird is that he also provided security services for Trump at one rally. But I think that is a false hearing. I think he simply was a Trump donor, or just happened to be in the area, right? It was one of the security companies in the area that could do it. But he's used that to kind of leverage the fact that he's like, no, I'm actually doing it on behalf of the Trump administration. I have all this stuff I'm going to do. The whole thing is just utter hogwash. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. I hope you appreciate this weird story, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.